Predictions for Mr. President. You want it, I deliver. He acts rather than waits. Authority is tested and reinforced through pressure. Foreign and military matters dominate. February 20th to 22nd is critical. Conflicts consolidate power instead of dissolving it. This eclipse season commits him to trajectory that Saturn will later formalize in March 2026 and forward. Welcome back to my channel, AstroBabushka. It's Irina. I'm a Vedic astrologer. I apply ancient, more than 3,000 years old knowledge to modern times. I use modern tools such as astrocartography. I use fixed stars, and I start to implement heavily asteroids because they work so well in mundane astrology. So, in this video, I predicted that first few months in 2026, USA has all chances to be drawn into the international conflict. And in this video, I will walk you through astro analysis. And in the end of the video, all the summary of the upcoming tendencies for upcoming months. So let's start with basics. Mr. President is operating under Jupiter Mahadasha and Venus Antardasha. What does it mean? That combination already proved its capacity when it coincided with election victory. And this matters because Jupiter-Venus periods do not act impulsively. They expand through alliances, legitimacy, and visible support structures rather than brute force alone. Venus remains active until October 2026. And I want to emphasize that from the middle of summer and by the end of 2026, the current policy of administration will shift because a lot of tools and different dashas have a switch in trajectory. Simultaneously, I also have Yogini Dasha, and its Venus is lord of another planetary dasha until 2031. This dual activation gives Venus unusual weight. It is not merely a sub-period of influence, it becomes a long arc of consolidation, public appeal, and strategic positioning. Why Venus is so good for Trump? It's in the 12th house, it's hemmed between Mandi and Gulika. From first glance, it's not that good, but that's why we love Jyotish, because we have divisional charts. And the 10th chart shows us Venus exalted and also conjunct Saturn. It's not soft Venus. Saturn hardens it. And also there's a Raja Yogas. There's an exchange between a few planets. And so that favors authority derived from endurance, hierarchy, and institutional presence. Now, this combination further anchors this whole period in governance and command rather than charisma that normally Venus give alone. And from the Yogini standpoint, this period is specifically productive for D10 significations. And it's all about career, it's all about power. And career outcomes for Mr. President are not accidental here. They're engineered, they're sustained, they're worked on hardly, and they're defended. I once already mentioned in my previous videos that solar return of Mr. President for 2028, the next presidential election, looks extremely good. And I know by law, currently, it's not possible for him to get a third term. But, you know, there are high chances somehow to be next leader of this country. And you can see with your own eyes, I put the chart here somewhere, a stellar stellium of planets are happening in the 10th house, tying together so many other houses and fields of the chart. But getting back to 2026. Although Venus sets the background tone, Mars is the ignition key of Mr. President's chart. Why? So Venus is placed in the Jupiter's nakshatra, and Jupiter is placed in Mars nakshatra. So we have a chain of dispositors here. When Mars is disturbed, the whole chart getting disturbed. Several planets tied to Mr. President's public and executive identity operate under this Mars rulership. So Sun, he's Lagnesh, in the 10th house, in the Mars nakshatra, it ties everything to authority and 10th house narrative. Rahu, in Mars nakshatra again, ties to mass appeal and disruption. During Rahu period, Mr. President became super popular with this TV show. Now Uranus also there ties to shocks and reversals. And we have Uranus return upcoming to the United States, and both for United States and Mr. President. Uranus line is going through Iran right now. Uranus line, another transit line, goes through the east side of states right now. So it all comes together if you're noticing, if you understand what I'm saying. So natal Mars, why I'm speaking about natal Mars? Because solar eclipse on the 17th February directly hits it. So natal Mars here, first of all, in the first house, that would actually give him this reddish appearance. When we speak about how we look, it can also be seen through the chart and through the placements. And some people has like a mix of different, and so that's what we have. But sometimes we have a dominanta. And Mars in Mr. President's chart is dominant thing. And that's why we have this reddish skin color, reddish hair color. I myself have some influence of Mars, and so my hair undertone is a bit reddish. And both my kids doesn't have that. And my parents didn't have that. So that's interesting how it can influence even without genetic predisposition. Now, Mars, it's in the first house, it's Yoga Karaka, it's the backbone of the whole charts, it's ruling 4th and 10th angle and trikona house. And this links personal identity, homeland, rund, and executive power into one single axis. So Mars is not purely aggressive, it is also positional, it defines where power sits. And Mars sits in Magha Nakshatra, which carries ancestral symbolism, lineage memory, and the idea of inherited authority. This is his throne, and he's sitting on it. I've heard few theories that he's actually a time traveler, and that maybe can give this, I know it sounds silly, but exactly this Magha Nakshatra can give this ideas to other people, that it's someone who came from past times, someone who traveled to this time from ancient times. So this placement consistently shows support that appears when it should not, often from older structures or symbolic legitimacy rather than popular opinions or sentiments. So, if we take someone else's chart and we see that solar eclipse hits directly the natal planet, the first thing that comes to mind, it's like, oh, that's dangerous. Oh, the person can be hit. But it's a solar eclipse. And it's a ruler of his chart. And it hits directly his Mars. And we also have Uranus, transit Uranus, squaring all of this. And Uranus is a part of the New World Order structure that I have the whole video about. Going to divisional chart to see if Mars has even more, power. And I analyze all his chart in a very, very detailed way in my book about eclipse, in the book about election. I go over my train of thought in that book, how I predicted that Mr. President will become Mr. President back in 2024. So in divisional chart, crucially important, Mars is forming multiple Raja yogas, royal yogas, that brings elevation to the person. And this is critical because the current stress will be not psychological. It will be occupational because it's a divisional chart of career and a public picture and public status in life, and geopolitical. So, solar eclipse directly hit the Mars. 2 weeks later, the lunar eclipse falls on the Ascendant. Exact degree. This sequence removes recovery time. The solar eclipse initiates action, conflict, or decision. The lunar eclipse personalizes it, making the consequences from this solar eclipse visible and unavoidable. And because Mars governs identity, authority, direction, this corridor compresses cause and effect. Decisions taken under the solar eclipse do not remain abstract. They immediately reshape perception and posture under the lunar eclipse. And this is why the period feels accelerated. There's no symbolic buffer. Now, there's another, lens to see this is a health danger, and to see if it has potential to be dangerous for his health, we need to see the confirmation from different divisional charts and from supportive other charts like solar return, Tithi Pravesha, other different tools. And that's why I opened next thing in my analysis. I, of course, open his solar return chart. And here things get even more specific. I wanted to say weird and coincidental, but it's not. It's actually, it was written in stars. So Mars, in the solar return chart, we also have planetary dashas, planetary periods. And that's when the promises of the solar return chart can, like whatever Mars promises in solar return chart, it will be delivered during this, specifically this Mahadasha. And the Mars Dasha in solar return chart stretches from February 15th to March 3rd. Just a reminder, 17th February we have first solar eclipse, and 3rd March we have the second one. So it's exactly the time of the eclipse's corridor. That's unbelievable. So this is notable. Mars dominates by position and by rulership here. So I put somewhere here the chart. So from the Ascendant, we also watch different points in solar return chart. So from Ascendant, Mars rules 1st and 7th, and this pulls personal will and opposition into direct confrontation. From Moon, Mars sits in the 6th, ruling 2nd and 9th. So it's connecting conflict with resources, conflict with ideology, conflict with law. Now from Varshaphal, Mars occupies 3rd, ruling 6th and in 11th, and this will emphasize messaging battles, tactical maneuvers, alliances formed under pressure. Varshaphal is Mercury for both 2025 and 2026 next year. And historically, I also write about this in my book about elections. Mercury period bring volatility for Mr. President, yet they also coincide with his ability to rise through chaos. Sort of bird phoenix, coming out of ashes each and every time. Now we also have divisional charts in solar return chart, and we see here confirmation of endurance and not breakdown, especially for his health. So in D6, it's a health, struggle, and competition chart. Mars is Svakshatra in the 8th house and ruling 3rd. It promises different level of hardship, for sure. But because it's strong, it promises survival again. Mars here enters crisis, recovers from shocks, and gains strength through confrontation rather than collapse. So the more he will confront, the higher he will rise. Now, Mars aspecting again its own sign and house 3rd. So it's reinforcing courage, initiative, and persistence under stress. Let's go to the D10 chart. Mars sits in the 3rd and the Yoga Karaka ruling 5th and 10th in exchange with Mercury, which is Varshaphal. So this shows strategic communication, calculated movement regarding his occupation, and authority expressed through action rather than consensus. So across divisions, Mars does not weaken, it adapts and it reinforces. This is crucially important. Now, I also use another interesting tool that's called Sahams, and it exists in both natal chart and solar return chart. And here Mars rules multiple Sahams: Putra, Mitra, Jalapatana, Jadya, and Mrityu. I will explain in detail later. But when Sahams activate during their ruler period, outcomes are concrete. Promises are fulfilled within the context of the whole themes of year, within the context of Mars sitting in the different charts. And we already analyzed it, and we went to conclusion that Mars is super strong here. It goes through confrontation, through fights, and in the end, it burns down and it rises. Mars here, crucially important, makes Ithisala Yoga with Jupiter. It's special yoga that exists only in solar return chart. And this yoga should be analyzed through different divisional charts. So, now, in short, Mars acts, Jupiter legitimizes, and from Lagna, Mundha, and Varshaphal perspectives, this yoga links force with justification, action with narrative, and initiative with ideological framing, probably justification. And this is how aggressive moves are defended, explained, and normalized. Now, I want to expand here. If you don't want to, go deeper into Sahams, you can just use the time codes and go to the next chapter. But when we speak about Sahams, they describe where life crystallizes into events, or where life have more chances to crystallize potential of the chart and promises of the chart into events. Also, they make, it's like without sahams, you see coloring book black and white, but sahams and nakshatras, they color it. So saham activates most clearly when its ruler runs the Varshaphal period. Now, malefic rulership, because Mars rules it, does not weaken saham if the malefic is strong and supported in divisional charts. Now, Ithisala Yoga with a benefic converts raw action and aggression into sanctioned action. So in this case, Mars rules multiple sahams while running the eclipse corridor, and Jupiter repeatedly legitimizes Mars through Ithisala Yoga. It's rare. Let's go each saham. Let's go over each saham. So Putra saham, in general charts, if it's not, politician, or it's a mundane chart, normally it's a child. But here we see its creation, its continuity, its legacy, what comes after me. So commonly it's reduced to children, and it's incomplete, and at its core it represents what survives you and carries your imprint. And when it's ruled by Mars, continuity is defended aggressively. Legacy is preserved through action. And threats to succession provoke decisive responses. So in Mr. President's context, this manifests as moves to secure ideological or political heirs. It can be protection of legacy narratives. It can be action taken to ensure continuity beyond the current cycle. Mars activation here means legacy is not left to chance. Now, Mitra Saham. Mitra means friends, but it's also on mundane level, on geopolitical level. It's alliances. It shows who stand with you when stakes rise, who defects when pressure increases, which alliances activate through conflict. With Mars as ruler, alliances are tested through confrontation. Loyalty is proven under stress. Neutral parties are forced to choose sides. Now, keeping in mind that there's a Ithisala Yoga with benefic Jupiter, ideological justification for alliance shift, public framing of why allies are right and enemies are wrong. So if we speak about prediction, this Saham can point to realignment of allies during the eclipse corridor. It can support emerging from unexpected or previously quiet quarters. Former allies becoming openly adversarial. Now next, Jalapatana Saham. Normally it's traveling overseas, but let's speak about mundane level. And here it's an overseas engagement. It's maritime routes, it's naval presence, it's projection of power abroad. And when Mars rules this Saham, foreign involvement becomes force-driven. Movement is strategic and not exploratory. Presence abroad signals dominance, not diplomacy. So Ithisala with Jupiter means actions abroad are justified as lawful, defensive, or necessary. Military or strategic moves are wrapped in ideological framing. In eclipse season, this Saham directly supports escalation involving foreign territory, projection of force beyond borders, high visibility overseas maneuvers. And this is one of the clearest indicators of externalized conflict. Next will be Jadya Saham, and it is systemic block. and being stuck, delays, being immobilized, systems that stop responding. When Mars, the action and aggression and movement, rules this Saham, I think it can say something like stagnation will be broken through force. The system is shocked back into motion. This Saham explains why long-standing stalemates suddenly resolve. Processes that resisted negotiation move under pressure. Resistance collapses not from persuasion, but from impact. Now we have death Saham, but normally when we don't have other like negative Sahams, it can be ending phase. It can be irreversible thresholds. And, it doesn't automatically means physical death. It can signify the end of phase. It can be a crossing point of no return. Situations where reversal is no longer possible. When ruled by Mars, endings are sharp and decisive. Risk is embraced. Outcomes are irreversible again. And don't forget, we have Jupiter Ithisala. So Mars brings the ending, but Jupiter defines it as necessary, justified, or unavoidable. It gives this morality to any cuttings. So this Saham will confirm that some chapter closes during this eclipse season. Decisions made cannot be undone later. The narrative afterward is this had to happen. Together with the Saturn and Neptune that creates fog, Shiat that creates miscalculations, this can rise some risks. So if I were someone to analyze someone's chart and see this pattern, I would definitely make few red flags for a person to understand that each decision needs to be checked multiple times before bringing into action. But Saturn and Neptune does not touch natal points, natal planets in Mr. President's chart. So I feel like this fog will pass him. Okay, that was with about the Sahams. So just to overall to wrap up the influence of Sahams. So legacy is defended, no question. I think Greenland can be seen as a legacy. Board of Peace can be seen as a legacy. Iranian regime fall can be seen him as a legacy. So this will be strongly defended and persuaded. Now, alliances are tested and redefined. Foreign action escalates, stagnation ends abruptly, and point of no return is crossed. The question is how he will come out of this point of no return. Now, in D6 chart in solar return, again, it's health, struggle, and completion. Promises survival again. I just want to emphasize this. It recovers from shocks and gains strength through confrontation. And I just want to go over Jupiter, Mars, Ithisala in each divisional chart. I think I will create a Substack file for this video, so it will be maybe easy to follow. Because there's quite few charts. Now, the analysis of Ithisala from Lagna in D1. we can see survival through conflict is supported by allies and ideology. Struggle strengthens rather than drains. Again, I will put it in Substack because for each prediction or tendency, there's a certain recipe. So I don't want to go over each of them, but it will be in my Substack file. Now, from Mundha, this yoga can show result as a pressure leads to consolidation of voice, control, and authority. And I want to say something that, I analyze a few charts of Mr. President and inauguration and USA. And so you will hear maybe when you hear the repetition of things, those repetition should be highlighted even more, because that's mean when something repetitive happens from different lens, from different points of view in different charts, that's mean there's a higher chances of this to happen and this to crystallize and this to manifest. Now, from Varshaphal, this yoga can give a result of shared victory. Something aggressive and military normalized, reinforced socially and politically. And the final synthesis here will be from all three Vargas, from all three reference points, the same logic repeats. Mars initiates conflict, Jupiter absorbs it, reframes it, spreads it. And, it's institutionalized action. So practical outcome for eclipse season. Actions are taken first, justification follows immediately, and opposition strengthens authority rather than eroding it. Conflict becomes the mechanism of consolidation. I think it's one of the strongest examples of Mars-Jupiter cooperation you can get in Varshaphal analysis. Couple words about February 20th to 22nd. This is exact Saturn-Neptune conjunction with Shiat and Zeus. And this is when there's a Mars-Jupiter Mahadasha in Mr. President's chart. So we have here concentrated release point. The most intense window appears between February 20th and 22nd. And this is the promises of this Ithisala Yoga are highly likely, specifically during these days. On top of this, we have eclipse corridor, Saturn-Neptune conjunction. We have a transit Lilith line, conjuncts Uranus line over Tehran in Mr. President's astrocartography chart. This overlays temporal pressure with geographic sensitivity. Uranus introduces unpredictability, Lilith exposes shadow dynamics, taboos, and raw power struggles. This is the window for anything operational. Now, let's go to the Tithi Pravesha chart, just to double and triple check. And until March, we have here Jupiter period. In a major chart, Jupiter is combust, slightly placed in Gemini in its enemy sign, with Mercury in its own sign, and it's in the 6th house ruling 3rd and 12th. It's just emphasizes even more military logistics, overseas involvement, and strategic conflicts rather than moral clarity. So combusted Jupiter weakens ethical framing, but it will sharpen tactical adaptability. Now, Saturn will take over in March 2026 in Tithi Pravesha chart, and the tone will slightly change. Saturn in 3rd house in Pisces and Pushkara Navamsha rules 1st and 2nd. So it will focus more on survival, on consolidation, on long-term positioning. So whatever happened during the Jupiter period abroad, tactical maneuvers, actions, Saturn will try to, until his next birthday in June, from March, he will try to ground, to institutionalize, to structure, to make it structured. Yet, it's still aspecting the 12th house of foreign affairs and the Sun in the 5th house, keeping foreign pressure alive. So I see the change of tone in presidency slowly starting March and gradually, growing into something different than what we have now toward the end of 2026. And more about this will be in analysis of another planetary dasha. Now, and this is where I will start doing the screen recording, and I will go over Cancer Charadasha. Okay, so going into Mr. President's chart. So he's Gemini. In Gemini system, he has Cancer period from October 2025 until June 2026. And then it changes the tone completely because the next will be the Leo. Leo Dasha will be from June 2026 until June 2029. So this is the long arch and arc. So whatever we are seeing now has the preparational character, preparational focus for Plutonian in Leo energy in his D10 chart. And also, coincidentally, it is the Lagna of his chart. So this is his golden moment. Now, speaking about Cancer, the period that he is now, it is so Cancer works by protection. It's a control of territory. It's emotional legitimacy. And also, it is the 12th house in his chart. The 12th house activation can bring up the topics of foreign countries, intelligence and hidden operations, back channel negotiations, isolations, sanctions, containment strategies, actions that are not fully visible. So it's sort of controlled exposure, what is given up as surface visibility, not leverage. So it's a little bit contradictory to Lilith return, because Lilith wants to, when it's a high frequency Lilith, she doesn't want to excuse herself. She just wants to put out everything as it is. And here we see that containment is necessary. Now, Cancer is also 11th from Karakamsha Lagna. So fulfillment comes from 11th house significators, which are gains, which will bring gains through networks, fulfillment of long-standing objectives. It also can bring support from collectives, from institutions, from ideological groups. Now, we have here combination of Gnati Karaka, Dara Karaka, Sri Lagna, and the aspects of Amatya Karaka, Atma Karaka, and Putra Karaka will be in the second house. But Atma Karaka and Amatya Karaka is a beautiful yoga where Sun has additional sources of strength, not without struggles. So here, here we see this little secret recipe for Mr. President's chart. This little secret makes his enemies and make the struggles hammed and not letting it fully impact him. I have written this in my book about 2024 election, and this is my own research that I concluded on multiple charts. I haven't seen yet anyone speaking about this, so maybe if I will collect at least 10, 15 charts, I can publish sort of paper on it. Now, together with a D10, I'm trying to think how to not overload you with technical details, but still emphasize it. Okay, so I will go over technical little details just with the first now, and then the next dashas that I will analyze, I will not use these technical things. So Atma Karaka and Amatya Karaka repeatedly bringing identity and action together, and this is a rising yoga. So it brings it gives the rise for the person. So we see here in the Cancer period that it's not active, but during the long Leo period, we have Sun, which is Atma Karaka, and Moon, which is Amatya Karaka, having active until 2029. So there's in plain terms, there's no separation between who he is and what he does. Like, he becomes an action. He becomes a force. Every move carries his personal signature and this karmic weight and this sort of feeling of destiny. Something that was written in the stars before he was born, sort of. Now, from Cancer, the fourth house receives Atma Karaka and Putra Karaka. It's another one of the best yogas possible. And Libra also has the ruler of the first and ruler of the fifth together in the 10th. That's just, I didn't notice this yet. I noticed, I just noticing it now. So this is a double rising activation for fourth house. Fourth house is a homeland, is internal security. This activates also domestic stability and instability. It's emotional base of power. So foreign actions directly reflect back into internal stability. And this is why foreign policy decisions during this period immediately affect domestic authority. Now, D10 is his career, is his public image, is his status, right? And Cancer we have in the 6th house, which ties together homeland with open enemies, with litigation, with institutional struggle, with power gained through confrontation again with his homeland as well. So, defensive aggression, protecting authority by confronting threats, fighting to preserve territory rather than expand it. We have also B Lagna, which can emphasize the idea that power is exercised through trusted operators, not mass appeal. It doesn't show now because I need to change the settings to see additional Lagnas. But basically I can show it here. Lagna. Lagna in D10 is in Cancer, 9 degrees. So now, we also have here aspects of Arudha Lagna, Upalagna, A3, A11, A2. So it's communication, it's gain, it's resources. Mercury is Matrikaraka. Also, we have here VL, PP, BB, and IL. I don't know if I will put it in the Substack. It's like just a little details that anyone who knows Antardasha Gemini will be able to understand. But in plain terms, it's mean that alliances are tested, messaging is weaponized, and resources are mobilized under pressure. Now, I want to go ahead a little bit and speak a little bit about this Leo Mahadasha that is in front of him. If we just use the D1 chart, we see that there's not much things here. It's a Mars, which is Putra Karaka, which is his legacy again. It's Raja Yoga. It has A7, A6, A3. And from first glance, nothing major is happening here, but let's see divisional chart, and that's why we love Jyotish. And here we see a beautiful, beautiful picture. Now, Leo is a 7th house here, and it's open confrontation, it's visible opponents, it's public power dynamics. There's no more behind-the-scenes containment that was during the Cancer period. Everything moves into the open. We also have here Pluto. Now, Atma Karaka Sun and Moon Amati Karaka together, they peaks during this period. Sun here is debilitated, but creating Raja Yoga from Parashara point of view. So we have maximum visibility of authority during Leo Antardasha, Leo Mahadasha. Pluto here in Leo, A9, Rahu Ketu active, HL, A5, A4, 6, 8, Arudha 5th, Arudha 9. So altogether, there's a period of domination through visibility. Power struggles played out publicly, global attention and polarization. And remember that Pluto is part of new upcoming building right now in front of our eyes, world order. So to wrap it up together, we have concentrated power for the Cancer period. Concentrated power forces inward consolidation. This period ties identity to action and makes foreign and domestic arenas inseparable. Now, from June and 2026 and onward, power becomes visible, confrontational, and undeniable. Cancer will prepare the throne, and Leo will allow Mr. President to sit on it comfortably. So Mars dominated corridor operating inside Venus-supported Jupiter framework reinforced repeatedly across dashas. Pressure is real, volatility is real, and structurally we can show the activation in the chart of endurance and consolidation again, rather than loss of footing. Now, in his inauguration chart, Jupiter, Saturn. So here is not working because you need to calculate it in another software because it's 4 years, right, of presidency. So right now it's a Jupiter period, and then it will go into the Saturn period. So Jupiter here in Taurus in second house, ruling third and 12th houses. And it runs as the main Dasha Lord in inauguration chart until May 2026. So again, we have here 3rd and 12th house. So we have resources, speech, and narrative control that are directly tied to ideology, because Jupiter is ruling 9th house. Ideology, law, doctrine, international affairs, and to foreign affairs, 12th house, foreign affairs, isolation, behind the scenes operations. Jupiter in Taurus emphasizes consolidation and material stability, but its 12th lordship channels gains through overseas interests, strategic expenditure, sanctions, tariffs, intelligence activity, or quiet containment rather than visible expansion. Again, it's preparing the ground for the next periods. Now, Saturn starts acting from May 2026 through the end of 2026. So we see here another confirmation that there will be a change, especially from the summer. But starting May 2026, it starts to slowly shift the whole policy, the whole presidency. Rhetorics. And Saturn here is Svakshetra. It's an 11th house of gains, of networks, of alliances. It's with the Lagnesh. It creates Dhyana Yoga. So here there will be control through mechanisms, through isolation mechanisms. It can be pressure applied through systems rather than spectacle. In Navamsha, Saturn here is debilitated, but it's Yoga Karaka. So the tools of containing whatever was gained in Jupiter period will not be all that sweet and nice, and yet results will come through the results will be, and there will be burden, there will be there will be no ease. It can be also strain on reputation, but because it's Yoga Karaka, I think it will, the status of Yoga Karaka will ensure delivery despite resistance. In D10 chart, we have here Saturn together in the 12th house. Again, Saturn is Yoga Karaka. Venus is Lagnesh here. Jupiter in the 9th house. Okay, so Saturn, strong. Venus supports institutional legitimacy and value framing. So altogether, I think it will be adversarial dynamics. There will be pressure. Power will be exercised via negotiation. And results will materialize institutionally and structurally, not just theatrically, not just on the surface. Here also Leo Dasha in Yogini tradition is acting. And the Sun is ruling Leo. So again, we have a blessing from ruler of the year, Sun. So in D1, we have here activation of fifth house, which is authority, the right to be authority. And we have here activation of a few things that I will not go over, all arudhas, all karakas. So this can bring decision-making authority, strategic alliance, command over direction, and narrative. And more or less, leadership will become unmistakably personal, and actions will carry very personal signature. Leo in D10 is the 11th house of game and networks, institutions, and we have activation of arudhas, of atmakaraka. So this configuration can speak about accumulation of influence through alliances and funding channels. Can be high visibility of results, polarization combined with expansion. This is a signature of Mr. President. Polarization combined with expansion. So Jupiter until May 2026, then Saturn till late 2026, and Leo Charadasha together. Legitimacy, resources, ideology are marshaled quietly through foreign and behind the scenes channels. During the Saturn, control tightens through containment, isolation, and institutional pressure, with endurance overriding comfort. And what was built and contained earlier becomes visible as authoritarian gains and open power projection. So to wrap up everything and to try to integrate all the information that I got from different charts, let's try to integrate and predict the next 2-3 months for Mr. President. So he will not retreat during the eclipse season. He will commit. Decisions will be executed operationally. Moves are made first, and justification will follow right away. Personal authority becomes the battleground, but pressure strengthens position rather than weakening it. Foreign and military threat theaters dominate, with visible shifts in posture and leverage. By late February, events cross a threshold that limits reversal. This is not resolution, it will be entrenchment. So who will benefit from this period? Mr. President himself. Pressure forces consolidation, so authority will tighten. Options will narrow, but control will increase. Hard power institutions will benefit. Military, security, intelligence, and enforcement structures will gain relevance and budgetary priority. Older or entrenched power networks will have benefit. Legacy institutions, traditional hierarchies, and established authority structures will regain influence under stress. Allies who thrive in confrontation. Actors comfortable with escalation, pressure tactics, and binary choices will gain advantage here. Narrative controllers will gain advantage. Those able to frame action after the fact will benefit, as Jupiter will legitimize Mars-led decision. Who will lose? Diplomatic moderates, soft power actors, and negotiation first. Intermediaries will lose leverage, as events will move faster than dialogue. Opponents, relying on attrition or delay. So attempts to corner Mr. President through slow pressure will backfire during this window. Neutral actors will lose. So this eclipse season forces choices. Neutral ground will erode quickly. Loose alliances will fracture under stress, and only durable or interest-aligned partnerships will survive. Public-facing moral critics lose. Value-based attacks circulate but stall, failing to produce decisive outcomes. So what we have in the end? We have action that overrides hesitation, conflict clarifies hierarchy, authority hardens under pressure, foreign arenas drive domestic consequences, and by early March, the path is locked in tone. This eclipse season does not end the story, it grounded, it commit. What follows under Saturn in March 2026 is not improvisation, it is enforcement of what was set in motion here. So prediction number 1. Now I'm going to go a little bit expansive on each of the prediction. So prediction number 1 will be escalation through action. The solar eclipse activating his natal Mars, followed by the lunar eclipse on the Ascendant, indicates decisions that manifest as action rather than rhetoric. Expect a move that immediately changes leverage or positioning. Something operational that commits resources, reputation, or alliances. The Mars acting first and Jupiter explaining after him later. Now, prediction number 2. Personal authority becomes the battleground. What does it mean? Mars is a yoga karaka in first lunar eclipse, hits the Ascendant, so his authority becomes the focal point, and we can expect challenges that framed as personal tests of leadership. Opponents attacking credibility, fitness, or legitimacy rather than his plans. A moment where he is forced to stand alone as the decision maker and take all responsibility on his shoulders. This will not hurt him. It will help him to strengthen his position. It will strengthen him structurally, even if it will increase polarization. Now, prediction number 3 will be foreign and military dimensions central. With Jupiter ruling 3rd and 12th in 6 during Tidhi Pravesha, Cancer Charadasha active, foreign theaters and military logistics will dominate. What you can expect? Heightened involvement in overseas pressure points. Situation involving foreign soil, foreign actors, or foreign escalation. Military posture or strategic force becoming visible, even if indirect. Prediction number 4, February 20th to 22nd, trigger window. The highest probability window for a decisive event. Why? I will repeat. Mars, Jupiter peak in solar return, eclipse corridor fully active, Uranus and Lilith astrocartography activation over Tehran. Also, as long as we're watching Sun closely, and I spoke about this in my podcast for 2026, Sun will be in Ritu Bhaga right before solar eclipse, 16th February. So something might happen on the 16th, then 17th, then 20th to 22, and then around 3rd March. So again, it's sequence of events. And this is not the end. We have another sequence of, I call it unfortunate events in my podcast 2026, when Rahu will be conjuncting different planets. Mercury, Rahu, and Mercury, Mars, and then Sun and Saturn will conjunct. So that I will speak later in another video because it will take too much time now. But going back to prediction number 4, expect sudden developments tied to Iran or Iranian aligned regions, an unexpected escalation, reveal, or confrontation, or volatility that cannot be contained once initiated. This will be window for shock over negotiation. It actually favors this shock style decisions. Now, prediction number 5, he will gain ground through conflict, not despite it. So, Mars remains strong and operational from different standpoints, and this means conflict does not weaken him. So expect attempts to corner him, and it will backfire to those who try. Pressure consolidating his internal authority, support emerging from unlikely or older power structures. And this is something that we might even see because this is what it's called deep state, I guess. So he will get that support because of Magha Nakshatra. And it will back him under stress. Now, prediction number 6. Messaging becomes tactical and aggressive. With Mercury as a Varshaphal and Mars in exchange with Mercury in D10, communication will become sharp, targeted, and confrontational. Messaging will escalate alongside action. Legal, ideological, or moral framing follows action, not precedes it. Expect narratives to shift rapidly to justify what has already been done. Prediction number 7. His health and endurance will hold under pressure. Can be some minor things, nothing major, that's what I see. Despite intensity, D6 shows Mars in Svakshatra with supportive aspects. And prediction here, he will sustain his physical and psychological pressure better than expected. No collapse, no withdrawal or incapacitation during eclipse season seen in astrology charts. Stress is visible but functional. And now we go to prediction number 8. There's no exit here. There's a full in commitment. And that will lock him, Mr. President, even deeper into the path that he's already on. So expect reduced flexibility after this period. Fewer options, but clear direction. It's like, the horses, they used to put these things on the horses. So the eclipse season put these things on the Mr. President's head. There's only straight, the path is there, no more options. The sense of turning back is no longer possible, is no longer on the table. This is a point of no return. I think I went over everything. I was preparing for this quite A long time took me. I wanted to ask you to like, to subscribe. It will help me to grow my channel. You probably don't even know how important it is, but as of right now, I'm doing all the work here for YouTube with no monetary support, purely on my motivation and on my energy and on my love of astrology. But at some point, it should start supporting me on monetary level as well. Thank you so much, everyone who is, here in my channel and who keeps supporting me. I really appreciate it. Hopefully this Mr. President thing will help the algorithm not to mute me. Now, as a reminder, again, I have a free astrological calendar for 2026 available for if you fill out the form down below. I am keep working on rising signs. There's quite a few left, and what I'm doing now, I'm analyzing Mexico in depth. I'm preparing the charts of Mexico because it looks like it's being hit directly during the eclipse season and upcoming years. I am working with Australian charts. I am working with UK inauguration chart, the recent one, the Starmer one. And I bumped into some problem there because apparently Prime Minister of UK, they don't have a certain amount of years that they work. So I don't have periods to calculate. So I need to figure out how to work on that. So I guess I can only use solar return for inauguration chart or Tithi Pravesha. But it's not enough. I need to figure out how else I can use this chart, because whatever is happening in UK is important. In Australia, important. In Mexico is also truly important. Okay, thank you again for being here, and I will see you in the next videos. Bye.